You're listening to the Freio
Music Podcast.
To the Freio Music
Podcast.
Welcome to the Freio Music Podcast. In this episode, I interview Willdabeast. Willdabeast is a horn duo who harnesses the digital realm while at the same time still playing wind instruments live on stage, which go through some effects and digital processing before it reaches the audience's ears. The music being created on stage is unique and it won't be the same the next night. Really, if you get a chance to see Willdabeast live, don't miss it. And I really hope that you enjoy this next episode.
My name's Will Glazier, and I play trumpet and do a lot of the production for our group.
My name's Dan Lisle. I do trombone, flute. I play a little bit of keyboards, and I'm learning a lot about production.
And yeah, we go by Willdabeast. And we're also in a few other bands as well. We're traveling and touring mostly with Michael Menert Big Band, Michael Menert and the Pretty Fantastics, and we have a few other local bands as well. And in Bellingham, a reggae band called Yoga Man and a funk band called Snug Harbor. Snug Harbor is a band that's been around the longest for us. It's a band that I started when I first moved here in 2007, and Daniel joined quickly after. So we've kind of been collaborative partners. He's in Yoga Man too. We're actually in every band together, so it's been kind of a harmonious relationship ever since.
Now, where did you guys meet and how did you come together musically?
It was the WCC, to the Whatcom Community College Jazz Band up in the county that we live in. And Will was playing first trumpet, and I was just kind of going there to mess around a bit. And he was looking for a trombone player to join his funk band, so he invited me out, and I bombed the practice. I did terribly, and for some reason he's been playing music with me ever since.
Yeah, I remember I moved here in 2006 or 2007 from Buffalo, New York, where I'm from, and I just started here to go to school, so I had to go to Whatcom first to community college to get my AA to transfer over, blah, 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 but I was playing in their jazz band, and I always remember staring at Daniel's head, and he was one of the only competent people in the band. No, I'm just joking. Yeah,
No, you're not wrong.
They're a great band now, but at that time it was a struggling program, so I kind of gravitated towards him and invited him towards Snug Harbor, which is just a funk homage to New Orleans, kind of. When I traveled there when I was 15 and got to see a bunch of really good jazz and funk, which inspired me for the rest of my life. Really brass, horn music, anything like that. And yeah, he's been by my side ever since, which I don't know why he stuck around this far. I probably cost him lots of opportunities and money and jobs and women and relationships, but yeah, he's here, we're here, and we're doing it still.
Can you kind of discuss yourself as a kid and how you were introduced to music and what inspired you to learn how to play?
I got kind of an easy start. My dad was a flute player growing up, not a professional one or anything, but he had a nice flute and a couple of beaters lying around. And so I got my hands on a flute pretty early and just started messing around with that. Joined band, went through the process that a lot of kids in America do growing up and learning music, and just kind of kept loving it. I guess I always kind of wanted to play music professionally if the opportunity ever came up, and now I'm just busting my ass for it.
I was first introduced to music, similarly just through school systems and such. And my parents were both big advocates. My dad met Miles Davis and Jimi Hendrix in college when he was at UC Berkeley, and just listened to really good vinyl growing up, and just always caught my ear. And I don't know, I'm kind of good at a lot of things, but the one thing I know I'm good at is music, and it's just been a struggle to kind of balance everything. I have a family now and all that, but for me, music's all I do. I'm, like I say, in 4 or 5 bands, and we get paid here and there for recordings or parties or different events and recording sessions and stuff. So we try and do as much traveling and performance and trying to generate income as possible. Daniel has another job as well, but it's what we're trying to pursue. So we're trying to just chase it while we still can.
Definitely. Well, I think that's the right approach. You got to get out there and be discovered.
Yeah, exactly.
I just wrote an article, and it kind of ties into this, but touring gives you the opportunity to then sell all of the products which you've already created. like your stickers or albums, or I know you give out some of your music for free, but perhaps, apparel or things along those lines can also boost kind of that revenue as you're touring.
Yeah, exactly. We've got a website and lots of merch and stuff. So artists rely on different ways to generate income, especially on our level or whoever. It's like unless you're the boss man. Unless you're the boss man, it's like, or whatever, unless you're really big time and playing 300 shows a year at sellout venues, it's going to be hard to survive, on free music. But yeah, it's really nice to be able to connect with fans in different markets and regions. And yeah, once you get to know people and once they get to know your music and they become kind of part of the whole experience and process. And yeah, people, we've got 3 or 4 different kind of hat pins, for example. And like, kids don't mind paying $15 or whatever, $20 for a hat pin. And it's like, it goes a long way to support, what we're trying to do as well. And I love that too. It's like people come up to me all the time, trying to get, stickers or shirts or CDs. And, that means something. That means you did something right.
Definitely.
We've had a couple shows that were completely saved by the merch sales. We weren't going to break even except for a couple people who really invested in us, and that was really nice.
Nice. Well, again, like with the merch sales, they're walking advertisements, and now they're people, and they're, telling their friends about you, and, friends are the best source. You trust your friends' music taste.
Right.
I think it's definitely a key strategy, and I'm glad you guys are doing it. I would love to hear about how you first met Michael Menart and ended up joining Super Best Records, and how that collaboration took place.
Sure. I met Michael a few years ago. I've been a really big fan of Michael Menart's music for a good portion of a decade. I wasn't even huge into electronic music until later in my college years, and he was part of the reason why I really got into electronic music, just that really consistent groove and that, how he works in live instruments, either with samples or now with actual people. But anyway, I just really gravitated towards his music, and I remember just downloading every song I possibly could by him and eventually forming a relationship with him in my head. And he's a big personality, so he's got a Twitter account, as I'm sure most of his mafiosos know, and he's got a lot of followers. And excuse me, he's got a lot of followers, and so I just hit him up on Twitter one day, and I was like blasting him, like semi stalking him, and he responded. And he was like, more or less, I mean, I'm kind of paraphrasing, but he's like, do you want to join my band? I still have some of these screenshots saved, by the way, if anyone wants proof. But he's like, do you want to join my band? And I'm like, yeah. And I sent him a link to Snug Harbor, who, we mentioned earlier. And apparently he checked it out and liked what he heard, because a few days later I had a contract in the mail from his management. And my whole band was hired for Sonic Bloom 2014. And we practiced our butts off and became his big band. So we played all those shows with him too at Red Rocks and stuff. And then Michael's such a generous person and amazing friend and mentor, and it was easy for us to align once we kind of met, and yeah, it's been great. He extended his hand towards me several times, including the record deal label offer, and it's just been a huge help. Like we have a ton of stuff we're working on right now, and we've learned a lot from him and everybody on that label, and it's just been, we hold them in high regard. So it's just a complete honor just to be involved with them and considered part of that team and family. Yeah.
So besides Michael, are any other artists stick out in your mind as influencing you, your career, or your sound?
That's a big question.
Maybe growing up, you listened to a particular artist and you really started to gravitate towards that style of horn playing or electronic music influences outside of, Pretty Fantastics and Big Band.
Well, Pretty Fantastics, I think, is almost more of like a indie band or something, like somewhere between like, I don't know, Radiohead and Bjork meets, it's like, it's just all this crazy influence of it's all, it's like you've got these acoustic instruments and you've got this electronic vibe, but it's all kind of like this blurred lines thing. But in general, I feel like, I grew up listening to jazz and funk, like really inspired by Soul Live and Lettuce and those guys. That's kind of, I feel like, in general, that's, Derek's been working with him and a ton of all these people have been, with Soul Live, and all these people have been kind of infiltrating. Grizz worked with Lettuce and stuff. And we've done tracks with Grizz and he's been pretty influential. I'd say most of the collabs we've done have provided us an opportunity to advance ourselves, both musically and technically. Especially as of late, I feel like every single song we touch is only getting better. And I'm not trying to blow my own head up or, sound too cocky, but it's like we in itself become better players by doing this more frequently. We also learn more about our software and programs and are able to enhance our own music. And so, yeah. And, finally for me personally, it's like, I listen to a whole bunch of music, and I still do, and nothing ever really changes. I still listen to, 90s hip hop, and I still listen to, 80s disco or whatever, 70s funk. It's like that music will always be in me and I'll always enjoy that. But my taste change constantly right now. I'm really into like, some crazy, like kind of like festival music, like Tipper and Killsmith and Closey and all these people who have like sonic 3D soundscapes as it relates to music. It's like you think about different music in a different way, in like different forms, as opposed to just on like a regular 2D axis. And I don't know, just trying to find different ways to enhance music. And I find inspirations from everywhere. So I listen to ambient music, I listen to jazz, I listen to opera, I listen to blues and funk, I listen to electronic music, and I think there's something to be said about all of it.
Great. And what about you, Dan? Any influences throughout your career?
Well, a lot like Will, I grew up listening to a lot of jazz. I'd be a liar if I didn't talk about Fred Wesley as a trombone player. He's fantastic, and pretty much everything I do solo-wise is based off of just kind of what he did to make trombone one of the funkiest instruments out there. Flute-wise, trying to remember his name. So that's the problem. I'm just spacey right now. a lot of jazz flute growing up, and now Will kind of introduced me to electronic music. I wasn't sure I was ever going to be able to get into it, and then he showed me guys like Michael Menner and Pretty Lights and the whole Pretty Lights music team. Everyone on Super Best right now. Artifacts is just killing it. I'm really loving what Daily Bread is doing. All those guys out there are just really killing the game right now. So I'm listening to them a lot and just trying to do my best to learn.
Clearly you're learning fast because you guys have, captured the blend of live instruments and electronic production. So, props.
Yeah, I went to school for like audio engineering and video stuff. It wasn't a major back then. It is now, but so I had to make my own. It was called like New Media Studies, but basically I ended up studying audio production a lot, and through various school projects I was able to kind of just learn my way and start to introduce myself into different sampling techniques and beat building and stuff. So yeah, it's been a long time coming and a big process, but I've been able to pass everything, hopefully I know, down to Daniel, and we continue to inspire and push each other to learn more. It's like when we have a question or when we have something that comes up that's not ideal, we learn to make it work and we learn to find ways to, think on our feet. And more often than not, I feel like it works, and it's like, wow, this is actually happening. It's like we're making progress. It's cool.
That's great. So what instruments do you all play? So obviously the laptop is ingrained, maybe a MIDI controller, keyboard, trombone, flute. What other instruments am I missing here?
Are you talking about live or when we produce?
Both.
Live, I'm just essentially DJing stripped down versions of the tracks and throwing like effects on the tracks, and I've got my trumpet and I play with a loop station and effects pedal board, and that's pretty much it for now. Sometimes we also have a synthesizer we bring out and play live, but for the last tour we weren't able to bring it due to space concerns. And then Daniel plays flute and trombone and helps me play sometimes, percussion or throw effects and DJ a little bit. And then in the studio I play a lot of keys and synthesizer. Like we got a couple analog synths. We play Roland Gaia and the Moog Sub Fatty, and I play flugelhorn and trumpet, and I sing. And then Daniel,
I'm usually playing a flute or trombone. That tends to be a lot of what I'm recording, and then I do a lot of synth work. I love making bass noises. I think programming the bass is one of my favorite parts of being a producer. I don't always get to choose which bass makes it, but just making the sounds is really fun for me. And then just playing keys. And one time I got to play a little bit of guitar. We didn't end up releasing that song, but that was pretty fun.
Nice. Well, you guys are pushing it. I mean, you're combining a lot of different elements.
Yeah, we use my record player a lot too, because we did some samples in the past, but we're trying to move away from that. But yeah, we're just trying to do all we can, and we also work with other people in the community. I can't forget about our home team here in Bellingham. It's a little bit outside of Seattle, in between Seattle and Vancouver, and it's where I went to school. And we've got tons of people we work with here in town that lend a helping hand. We got a few different female vocalists that come over and help us record, and some guitar players and a bass player and a drummer, and just different people who we've played with, in Bellingham or in different bands, or just friends of friends or anything, that have shown inclinations and interests in our music. And we tend to gravitate towards that as well. Some rappers, a couple of different MCs. It's been really cool for me, that's been a really fun part, is to be able to collaborate on a more in-depth level with those kind of people.
Can you tell me about each of your first live performance, your first time that you got paid for a gig? Talk about your live performance and any nervousness you had and how you overcame that.
There was one time the first time I ever got paid to play music, I was still a high school jazz trombone player, and it was just me and a bass player, and we got paid to play a company Christmas party, and they basically just wanted us to play Christmas tunes and jazz standards. And I wasn't a great trombone player. I didn't really know the songs. I was sight reading most of what I was doing, and me and this bass player, it just ended up flubbing through all this work, and they still paid us both $200 a piece at the end of the day, and we're really thankful. So I felt like a lot of people just appreciated the effort, and ever since then I've been able to just kind of keep my head on and just go out there and try as hard as I can.
And for me, this is Will obviously, but for me, I remember a couple of different instances. I guess my first, I think this is maybe why I'm nervous in front of smaller crowds, and it sounds terrible because, like, for me, the bigger the crowd, the better. But when I was super young, my parents used to like force me to play, like in front of all like the Christmas family get-togethers, and it was like, oh man, for half an hour, just all 30 distant relatives that I see once a year staring into your soul, and it's like, I don't know, it was very uncomfortable for me, and I feel like those kinds of at least intimate performances kind of like still irk me out. I'd literally rather play in front of 10,000 people than in front of 10. Like, it's crazy. And then the first time I got paid for a gig, I've been playing music professionally since I was 12, I guess. I met Mike Angelakis from Passion Pit on Napster in 1998, and we became friends and became in a band, and we used to play all the time professionally, starting at 12, 13, especially around those mid-teenage years, and played often. So that was really fun for me. I remember just learning to become a good performer and good bandmate during those times, and it was crucial to my development.
It's great to hear, and I appreciate you sharing, because there's so many musicians out there who just need to get past that first hurdle before they can really take the next steps in their career. So I appreciate you sharing.
Yeah, no problem, man. I mean, at this point, you almost just got to embrace it. It's like, you got to have fun. And if you're not having fun, regardless of what I said, regardless of my nerves, whether I'm playing in front of whatever quantity of people. It's like, you just got to go out and have fun. It's like, if I look over at Daniel mid set and he's having a blast and I'm not, I feel stupid. So you always got to bring your A game. And I think that if you can't have fun by yourself or in front of a friend or in front of a group of people, then you're not going to be able to have fun in front of, that big crowd. So to me, it's all about honing the craft too, and just being able to embrace that.
Great. So my next question dives into kind of the production end of the way you construct your songs. First of all, what software are you using, or are you using multiple different DAWs? And can you tell me like the relative order of operations? Like, do you start out with melody, or do you start out with the lyric sample that you want to add in, or do you build the drum beat first? Go ahead and walk me through that briefly.
We normally use Logic. We use some native instruments too, but mostly Logic is our production platform. We use native instruments and different plugins to use different ways of manipulating sound, but and also live we use some native instruments. But yeah, we just record. Our main DAW is Logic, and I've been using it forever. We've experimented with Bitwig. I own Bitwig and stuff, and Ableton and Pro Tools, but I'm just a little bit more efficient on Logic, and I like what's we've been able to do. So we kind of use Logic, and and typically I'll come up with a drum beat that sounds good, and to me, it's an indication that if you can make a drum beat sound good, then you have a good foundation, good groove, good something to the song. So yeah, we've been trying to just go off that, and then Dan will start helping me make layers of mixing live drum samples, like from like my friend Todd Templeton, who helped us out on the last album. He played live drums, and I'll take an analog kick from his and layer it in with a digital kick of mine, and we'll have a sub hit in the background, and then all of a sudden we've got something that our heads can shake to, and I'll ask Daniel some questions about the direction of the tune, and at that point he'll help me start layering different basses usually, and at that point we create a foundation for the melody, and usually begin to enhance that with synths and horns and stuff, and usually the song at that point you can tell if it's going to be good or not, and continue to make it or move on.
Great. Well, thanks for telling me that. Now, just out of curiosity, every musician might have a slightly different rate, but what percentage of, your efforts result in a song that sticks? Like how many songs do you throw out on average for every one that you keep?
I mean, I've got hundreds, maybe 100 songs that, I'm still working on. I say everything's a work in progress, even beats that don't become anything, but we're pretty stubborn. I'd say we produced maybe like 20 or 18 tracks, and out of those, like 12 of them made it for our last. So, a handful got cut, but in general, I also think that we have good starts. It's like I have tons of drum songs that just suck, and it's like we don't really work on those. I'll play them for Daniel, he'll roll his eyes, I'll roll my eyes, we'll open up a new session file. It's like at the point where we're like really starting to work on it, something, it's just like, okay, like let's take the time, and it's all about micro. To me, at least, it's all about micro editing and micro, listening. It's like if you can make a little change, at the end of every 4 or 8 bars, even if it's like some stupid automation that you'll never think of, like just increase the reverb time or like the delay or whatever. It's like you're able to create this like sonic landscape, and you're able to like, I don't know, man. Like to me, music's all about like somatics and like changing physical property and energy with those vibrations and waveforms. So it's like the more you can enhance someone's life by making like a creation, the better. And to me, that's what it's about. But yeah, man, I think Logic and whatever platform you're using, I think you should just go for it. To me, I find it silly when people are just Ableton snobs or whatever. It's like, I mean, my whole crew uses Ableton. I'm not trying to dog it. I'm not trying to dog them at all. That's not who I'm even talking about. I'm just saying I've met people who are like, oh, you use Logic. It's like, dude, you could use Fruity Loops. You could use GarageBand. I don't care, man. If you're making music, you're doing yourself and probably other people better, for it. So it's like, I commend those people.
Truth. Well, thanks for walking me through that. My next question is about your album entitled Stay the Course. Now, you guys collaborated with a huge array of different musicians to create this piece. Can you talk about kind of the strategy behind it and why you wanted this album to be so collaborative?
Yeah. I feel like a lot of that was just, we have a lot of people who we've played with, as Will spoke about, people in the community that we've been in bands with, or that we've just sat in with, or they've come and sat in with Snug Harbor or something. And really, I think we wanted to just include all of our friends and get all the best musicians in town together and make as good of a product as we possibly could have. I know a big inspiration for me on the album was getting as many natural sounds as many, not like acoustic, but just instruments that were really played by someone, and figure out how to make that into a really great electronic song. And a lot of those instruments are things that I can't play that well. Things like drums and guitar. We often got Todd Templeton or Matthew Vandenhavel, who's now on Super Best Records too. We got those guys on, I don't know. I know Todd's on at least 3 or 4 of those songs, and Matt's on almost every single one of them, whether we credit him or not. And so it was really great having those types of musical influences around, and I think it really did change a lot of what we did on the album for the better.
Yeah, I mean, you look at people like, Michael Menert, and he got us involved with Space Jazz, and I think that was one of our first real sessions with him, and it's like Daniel and I were almost shocked when it came out, because every song on Space Jazz has like 8 people on it, including us. It's like we're on 5 songs. I think it's like 4 or 5 songs. It's like, wow, here's a guy, Michael Menert, that's like pretty well known, like, semi-famous. It's like he's been making beats forever, PLM, Super Best Records. It's like this owner, like this guy that everyone, in my opinion, and that I've met, kind of looks up to, especially in the Midwest. And it's like, this guy is taking the time to credit these amazing musicians, but like we weren't known at that time, or Sam Goodman and Jordan Pavolino, like all these people who at that time, they're making big waves now. And I think it's because of that. It's like his generosity is really influential and inspirational. And so, it's partly to do with that too. You see him working with all these people, and we almost wanted to bring other people in as well, and almost pass it along if we could. And, on a bigger scale degree, you look at people, again, like Grizz or something, and they're working with, the Daptones, Daptone Records, Dap Kings, and, all these people, or, Lettuce, whatever, these phenomenal players. And yeah, to me, it's cool. If you can make a beat, awesome. If you can make a cool song, great. If you can make it better by adding someone else, you should. Why not? And if you can give them credit, by all means, absolutely.
Credit is so important, and it's so nice to have those artists who have already made it or have a large audience or following, and kind of lend a hand and bring younger artists along for the journey. I feel like it's makes for the complete life cycle,
Yeah, exactly. Pass it along and spread the wealth. I mean, it's a big, it's a big pie, and there's only so many slices, but it's like, if I can cut mine for a little bit and help someone else, it's like, I can only, that's the only way people make it. It's not by stepping on each other, it's by helping each other. And I think that's a big part of it. So we're just trying to do our part, really.
Rock on. Well, I really like that. You say it well.
Thank you.
I'm interested in any future works that you guys have.
Yeah, we've got 3 collaborative albums coming out. We just finished the most of the tracks for the new Pretty Fantastics album. I think we'll be on most of that album. We're doing a song with Funk Static. It's really good. It's on his next album. I think it's going to be on Gravitas or Adapted or something like that. And then we're doing another track with our friend Captain. We have a free song out with him right now called Never Will. We've got another song coming out with him that we're really excited about. Some of our best work, I think, as horn players. And then we're also working on kind of a different style, almost a sample-free album by ourselves, an EP for Willdabeast that we're trying to get out really soon. On Super Best, it's kind of a different vibe, I'd say. It's more like a lot of our stuff's a little bit more laid back hip hop, and this is maybe more up tempo or just a little bit more kind of future sounding. And then we also actually, now that I think about it, have another EP coming out with Sway from Philos Records. So we've got lots of stuff coming out very soon for you.
And the remix.
Wow, that's exciting.
And now that I think about it, we have a remix album coming out too for Stay the Course, and a lot of friends and label mates and all those guys, past collaboratives, are going to be included on that as well. So yeah, there's going to be 5 or 6 different things you can get your ears on us probably within the next 6 months.
All right. Now, where can our audience find your new tracks?
If you want to get real, just simple, it's soundcloud.com/Willdabeast official, WILLDABEAST official. But yeah, it's also on our Facebook. Everything's kind of Willdabeast official. So if you search Willdabeast with 2 L's, DABEAST, it's really hard to it's hard to spell if you don't do it right, but once you got it, you'll get it linked in. And yeah, SoundCloud, Willdabeast official. We've also got wildabeastmusic.com, which can provide you to more of our emails and other links as well. So Superbest Records Bandcamp page also has our music. It's superbest.bandcamp.com. So it might be superbestrecords.bandcamp.com. I can't remember, but it's either that or one of them, but it'll be easy to search up.
Perfect. What's it like working with a record label?
We pitched to a few labels and even like some talent agencies, and yeah, we were never really picked up. And I think Michael just found us on YouTube after I sent him some weird links, and he kind of liked what he heard. But no, Superbest is the first one for us. My old band back in New York had a record label. We signed to Drive Through Records, but that was kind of temporary. Anyway, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's a challenge because sometimes you're on their schedule, especially for releases and just different things. They, can't overdo it either. So you kind of got to be mindful of other artists and things. But in general, it's great. It's a dream come true. I remember when Michael told me he was going to sign us and just kind of started floating and felt like I was on cloud 9. It was, besides my son being born, one of the best days of my life. And I don't know, it's just cool to have representation. Feel like it's all worth it at the end of the day. Feel like what you're doing matters and is important, and to have that backing and just that support system is huge for me. They're just a startup company at this point, and they're nothing huge, but it's also kind of one of the benefits too, because when I have a release, I talk to Michael or someone, just his manager or someone in charge. It's like there's not a lot of BS involved.
That's great. Not a lot of different departments and management structure. You just go right to the source. Yeah,
there's like 2 or 3 people. It's just like, all right, I got this release, and they're like, okay, well, let's wait a few months, or we got a slot open, or hey, and then they'll help promote our shows, and they'll help a little bit doing those things, and just having those friends, like for our remix album for Stay the Course that's going to come out hopefully in the next few months. Like, we got a bunch of people from Superbest to be on it, and it's just special to have that support system. We've recorded horns for other artists. They've sent tracks to us for our new songs. It's like, it's cool, to have that almost kinship with someone else and just feel like it matters. It's like, I don't know. I remember not being signed, and being signed isn't everything, but it's like, to me, it was just something that really helped validate what I was doing and show other people too, that it's not just like a hobby or passion, although it is. It's just it's more. It's something that I'm really trying to pursue, and it's worthwhile when you have that support system. But yeah, I love Superbest for life, baby.
All right, good to hear. Do you have any interesting or weird, odd pre-performance rituals?
Well, I believe as a trombone player, if you don't know how to properly keep your slide greased up before the show, then you just got a long ways to go. I remember once I had a professional lesson with an old Navy trombone player named Jim McFalls, and I paid for an hour lesson with this guy. He was like a bebop killer player, and he spent the entire lesson talking to me about slide care and just making sure that I was taking care of my trombone well. And so if I have any kind of pregame ritual, it would probably be getting my slide ready for the show and then drinking a beer.
Yeah, it's always fun to listen to Dan Grease's slide. Yeah, man, I don't know. I kind of, it was hard on the Pretty Fantastics tour to get some like space sometimes, because you're traveling with so many people, but and they usually only supply you with one green room, so most seats are occupied. But I like to just sit down and warm up my lips and drink a lot of water, because I know I'm about to bring my A game and sweat most of everything I have outside of me. And yeah, so I just try and get hydrated, and if possible, I try and eat like a little over an hour before, because man, it sucks sometimes getting food. You get off stage at 3 a.m. and everything's closed until the next day or whatever. So, honestly, at this point, it's all about sustenance and sustainability and trying to stay nourished and thrive. It's like, if I decide to party or have some drinks or something, it's usually going to be afterwards, just because, I don't know, like Dan said, I try and take care of my horn too. I got a really expensive trumpet, and yeah, just introducing different toxins and stuff inside the trumpet or my body can have an effect on my playing. So I try and take care of myself, especially as of late. I've been having some little health problems, like with my back, but yeah, just trying to get loose, man, and get ready for a killer show.
Great. Now, Will, you mentioned the birth of your son. How old is he?
He just turned 1, and he's 14 months now. All right.
And has he seen you perform yet?
Yeah, he saw me perform when he was like 2 or 3 months old. It was right before Dan joined the group, and I had a solo show with Sylvan Esso at Western Washington University, where I went to school, and it was really cool. He wore headphones and watched me behind the speakers. I didn't hurt his ears or anything, but yeah, he hears us practice. Daniel comes over 2 or 3 days a week, and we get to record or work on music. So he hears us playing, and he hears me practicing. And Yogo Man, another band we play in, has a small infant near the same age, and they come to practice together and with ear protection and get to hear us play often. And yeah, he loves music. He bangs on my office door when I'm recording and I'm unable to open it and other things. So he's really drawn to music. He's again only a little over 1 and already starting to sing and kind of imitate those things. He's got a little plastic blowhorn he pretends to play trumpet with. And man, yeah, he's the light of my life. With Snug Harbor, once we played a Bite of Seattle. It's this big outdoor festival. And he was on stage with us, and I got to lift him up like the Lion King. And he's super sweet. He's amazing. I was never really a kid person, and then he came into my life, and yeah, he's the best.
Ah, that's great to hear. Okay, what advice would you give to a musician starting out today? Or what advice would you give yourself if you were starting out today?
Spend more time on your instrument.
Spend more time on your instrument.
Practice.
No, I mean, those are all good things, but seriously, I wish I had, because the only reason I say that is because I wish I had more time now to practice. It's like, back in the day when I was just lounging or watching TV or playing video games, it's like, I did invest a majority of my time in my instrument, but if I invested more, I feel like I could, just be one step ahead of the game. It's like, I have to prepare a lot, especially with a kid and daycare, childcare. And so it's like time is of the essence always. And so, use your time wisely is all I can say. You're only young once, and it sounds silly. It's like, I'm not even that old. I'm 29, but it's like, use that time, man. Cherish that time. And it's like, if you want a time to hone in and craft in on something, it's like, now's your chance. And to me, you only get 1 or 2 chances. And it's like, this was probably one of my last chances to make music, and I just went for it. So I'd give myself that advice, take those couple Netflix's, shows off your queue and go practice for a couple hours, because you're going to embetter yourself, and you're only going to feel more proud of what you're able to do.
Great. Thanks for sharing. Okay. Final question.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, I mean, you can find us at willdabeastmusic.com. We're at soundcloud.com/willdabeastofficial or facebook.com/willdabeastofficial. And we're posting there all the time, new music, new shows. We've got a couple shows up here in Bellingham. If anyone's up in the Northwest area, the Wild Buffalo, and then hopefully trying to see a lot of your familiar faces out as we continue. We just signed on with a booking agent too, so hopefully we're going to be able to land some more festival slots and bring some more live horn-infused electro soul to your heads and hearts.
Well, Will and Dan, thank you so much for coming on our show and sharing your time and knowledge with our listeners. We wish you all the best, and we look forward to all of your future creations and your 4 upcoming albums. So thank you again, and appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Thanks for having us. We really appreciate it, and good luck to you as well.
You've been listening to the Freio Music Podcast with Michael Morahan. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single episode. And don't forget to share this podcast everywhere. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay tuned.
Freio Music, Freio Music, Freio Music, Freio Music. You are listening to Freio Music.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Stay tuned.